So the war is over, apparently. No, wait, the war is not over. We're sending 10,000 more troops. Oh, wait, actually, we're negotiating. Very good, productive conversations. Wait, actually, Iran says there are no conversations. They called Trump's announcement fake news. Iran's parliament speaker, fake news. Let that land. We are getting geopolitical whiplash at a rate that would qualify as a medical condition. And if your doctor covered wars in the Middle East like this, how would that make you feel? Probably like you had the flu, no? So here's the thing. Tim Dillon, a comedian of all things, a podcast host as well, a man who described a DoorDash lawsuit on the same episode, sat down and described this situation more accurately than anything I have seen on any public social media or cable news source to date. Let's roll this.
Let's check in on the Iran war because, by the way, I keep getting whiplash. They're like, the war's over. And then they're like, another aircraft carrier is being deployed. And they're like, we're invading Karg Island. And then they're like, no, we're not. So I don't know what the fuck's going on. Iran is rejecting the U.S. peace plan. So Iran, and maybe something's changed, but Iran right now is not hip to this peace plan. Iran wants guarantees, like you're not going to attack us or blow us up, or Israel, can't fabricate intelligence that we're doing something we're not. And Iran said it rejected a U.S. ceasefire proposal and maintained attacks on Israel and the Gulf Arab states, delivering a blow to Washington's efforts to end a war that's wreaked havoc. But Marco Rubio recently said this thing will be over in a couple of weeks.
Whiplash. This is a clinical diagnosis, and here is the receipt behind the whiplash. This is not confusion, man. This is not mixed messaging. This is what happens when you start a war with no defined mission, objective, nothing like that, with no exit strategy. And the man who can explain exactly how we got here is the former director of the National Counterterrorism Division. And that person just resigned publicly, actually, and said it out loud, what everyone inside that building has been thinking for probably over a year at the very least. Joe Kent, 11 combat deployments, 6 Bronze Stars, Gold Star spouse, former Green Beret, former CIA paramilitary officer. He ran America's counterterrorism operations, and he quit publicly with a letter, and now the FBI is investigating him for leaking classified information. Seriously? Meanwhile, nobody is investigating the people in the Epstein files, but sure, priorities. So here's Kent. We're going to put him on, showing from Shawn Ryan how he laid out the financial picture first, because this is where I need you to pay attention.
Do you know Israel spent $6.4 billion on this war since March? You know how much the U.S. has spent? Approximately 18 to 25 billion, with another request for another 200 billion from Congress.
Yeah.
Now, why the fuck are we the ones floating the bill for this?
Because that's the way it is every time. The Israelis will have their objectives. They will convince senior American officials that this is also their objectives. And if the Americans don't agree, then the Israelis will set off a series of actions that make us react. And the next thing you know, we're having to contribute our blood and our treasure. And that same playbook is playing out now. And I referenced the Iraq War. I referenced what happened in Syria as well in my letter, because this is the same playbook we've seen over and over again. And, you and I saw it at the tactical level when we were deployed in the war on terror.
Israel has spent $6.4 billion on this war, which, mind you, where did that money even come from in the first place? You already know. The United States has spent 18 to 25 billion with a request of another 200 billion from Congress pending. And we all saw Hegseth like, oh yeah, give or take 200 billion. We're going to make it work. It'll be fine. And Kent just told you in plain English, this is the same playbook every time. The Israelis have their objectives. They convince senior American officials, and those are also American objectives somehow. If the Americans do not agree, the Israelis set off a series of actions that set force for Americans to react. And the thing we are contributing is blood and treasure to someone else's war. He saw this at the tactical level. He mentioned Shawn Ryan as well when they were deployed. He watched it happen at senior levels over the last year, and he resigned rather than be complicit in it. That's honor. That's American. I hate to see someone with that credibility leave, but at least he did something and said something. Maybe he can't do anything in there. That's the problem. He probably realized that. Now, where it gets particularly uncomfortable, but it's important that we watch this, and you'll see what he says up here next on Shawn Ryan.
Now, there's a lot of speculation that maybe the president made that statement to jet launch the stock market today. Here's a post. Just minutes before Trump's announcement of talks with Iran, massive traders hit the market. In one move, 1.5 billion in S&P 500 futures were purchased. This trade was so large, it sent the entire index 0.3% higher that exact minute. 192 million in oil futures were also sold. These orders were 4 to 6 times larger than anything else at that time. Whoever made those trades made $60 billion.
Bro, look, how crazy is this, man? They are literally, they own Polymarket. Donald Trump Jr. owns Polymarket. They got rid of all the oversight. They got it out of any type of litigation that it was in. Then they go in and who creates bets in order to profit off of war and global geopolitical events. These are people's lives at stake here. And they're out there gambling with just putting it on their own platform, getting rid of any political oversight, any legal oversight, getting rid of all the lawyers and stuff that would be looking into all this stuff. This is not a conspiracy, man. This stuff is actually happening. You know, the man who ran American counterterrorism is having a conversation with Shawn Ryan, who's also been in Intel. And they are literally saying the same thing that I said in my video this week, which I'll link down below. You need to watch it. It shows all the posts, how all of this stuff works. I did a live stream as well. This stuff is not acceptable. This seems like it's the administration here is grifting and taking as much money from the American people in so many different ways. And we're not benefiting at all. Let me show you a part of this interview that is the spine of really this entire story, because none of what you will have just seen will really make sense unless you understand how this red line got moved.
Now, this was a major threat to the Israelis because the Israelis viewed this as the prime time and Trump as the prime vehicle to use for regime change in Iraq. Now, President Trump's stated policy had been, and he says this all the time, that Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. Now, the Iranians actually agreed with President Trump, and they had a prohibition, a fatwa, a religious decree, on actually producing a nuclear weapon that had held since 2004. Now, what the Iranians did say was like, hey, we're not going to make a nuclear bomb, but we want the ability to enrich uranium, because they had seen what had taken place in Libya and Iraq, and they said, hey, if we go the Gaddafi route in Libya and say, here's all of our nuclear-making material, then they're a sitting duck. Then they can be invaded and regime changed at any given time. They saw the Saddam route, if they actually pursued a weapon or even like kind of BS'd that they had a weapon, that same thing, they would be immediately invaded. So they kind of had this ability to say, hey, we have a prohibition of a nuclear weapon, but we have some ability to enrich. This was a major threat to the Israelis' goal. So what I watched the Israelis do over the course of the last year was use their government officials engaging with our government officials, but then also their surrogates in the media, Mark Levin, who I'll talk to tonight, mainstream media, think tanks, Foundation for Defense of Democracies, a lot of talking heads on Fox News, to move the red line. So Trump had said, my red line is no nuclear weapons. The Ayatollah said, great, I don't want nuclear weapons either, let's talk. So they moved the red line by saying enrichment. Iran can have no enrichment. Enrichment equals a nuclear weapon, which is just fundamentally not true. So that would be parroted.
By the way, we did the research on my channel. I had a live stream a couple days ago. We went through all the enrichment levels of uranium, what each level of percentages actually can give that country or give that facility. It's like anything under 60% is not even worth talking about. And really, it's closer to 70 to 80% is when you have to start getting concerned, maybe, if that's their intention. The only intention to go over 60 to 70% is to create some type of nuclear. But once you get to 90%, that's when it's actually damning.
From officials in the Israeli government and then also on the news.
I mean, let's backtrack.
Yeah.
I don't think not one of our 18 intelligence agencies had mentioned that Iran was enriching uranium, correct?
They were doing enrichment to some degree. So there was enrichment.
For no nuclear weapons.
But no nuclear weapons.
No
and
nuclear
we
weapons.
knew, all 18 intelligence agencies agreed that the fatwa against actually making a nuclear weapon was holding, and the Iranians were not making a nuclear
We
weapon.
covered the fatwa. The fatwa is a religious it's like a sanction in their own religion within themselves. They already religiously stated, and they take their religion seriously. Obviously, they pray 5 times a day. They do all of these things. They take it seriously. They're not going to just put a fatwa inside of their religious standards unless they're going to take it seriously, which means they are not going to, their fatwa says that they are not going to create any nuclear weapons. All right.
So that Tulsi Gabbard testified to that last year. She just testified to it again this year, that the Iranians, under the previous supreme leader who was just killed, now the Iranians more than likely are going to change their strategic outlook. That's my guess. My guess is like, hey, a lot of their hardliners are now saying, hey, do you see what this moderation got us? And now they're going to attempt to buy one or spread. That's just my guess. But for the last year, prior to this last conflict kicking off, we did not assess that they were trying to make a nuclear weapon. So that's why they had to move the red line and say enrichment. And so finally, through official engagements and the media continuing to echo this, they basically got the U.S. talking point to change, that Iran could not have any kind of nuclear enrichment. And that was a non-starter for the Iranians. And that's how we basically got into the 12-day war, Operation Midnight Hammer. Again, 12-day war launched by the Israelis. We said, hey, we're going to come in, we're going to do a series of limited strikes to take away any nuclear capability that Iran may have, and then we're done.
We've already taken out whatever they said was their nuclear making facility. Trump stated that there's a red line about no nuclear weapons. All 18 intelligence agencies agreed that Iran had a religious decree called the Fatwa in place since 2004. And to be honest, it looks like it's even further back than that, but hardlined 2003, 2004, prohibiting the development of a nuclear weapon. That's inside their religion, all right? The Fatwa was holding. Tulsi Gabbard testified to it. The intelligence community confirmed it. The entire community. Iran was doing some enrichment, but they were not building a bomb. So there was a deal to make. Witkoff was at the table. The Iranians were talking. Then watch what the Israelis did. They went to the government officials. They went to their media surrogates. They went to the think tanks and Mark Levin and Fox News and Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And they started echoing the same talking points. Enrichment equals a nuclear weapon, which is not true. Zero enrichment is now the red line. The only American official who ever said zero enrichment was official U.S. policy was Mike Pompeo. One man, one time in the first Trump administration. And the Israelis took that single Pompeo statement and through media and diplomatic repetition, turned it into an accepted doctrine. How crazy is that? Once zero enrichment becomes the condition, Iran cannot agree. You're talking about, you could use 5% enrichment for a lot of great things for your country. It's ridiculous to ask for zero enrichment, because agreeing to zero enrichment means accepting the Libya scenario where you give up everything and then you get regime changed at the first opportunity. The Iranians watched what happened to Gaddafi. They are not going to Gaddafi themselves. That would be insane. So the deal died now, not because of Iranian aggression, but because the goalpost, again, how the Israelis love to do is change the goalpost and move it and make it wider and wider so they can kick a field goal through 400 yards. The deal died through an operation that was influenced, that Kent watched happen from inside the building. And he couldn't do anything about it. And once diplomacy was impossible, here's what happened next.
I think the Israelis once again got nervous about a month ago because they knew that Witkoff and Kushner and others in the administration were actively engaging with the Iranians to get a deal. And that's why the Israelis launched their attack, knowing they could force our hands. And that's why I think you saw Marco Rubio and others come out immediately and say, well, yeah, there was an imminent attack. And the imminent attack was the Israelis attacking the Iranians. And then we knew that they would retaliate back against us.
I mean, we've all heard this repeated over and over again, even from heads of state. Israelis launched knowing they were going to force our hand. Rubio went out immediately and said there was an imminent attack. Kent said it plainly. The imminent attack was the Israelis attacking the Iranians. That's the imminent attack. And then we knew they would retaliate back against us if that happened. That is the Secretary of State confirming that we entered this war because Israel started it and we had no choice but to follow. And 13 Americans plus are dead, those at least that they're telling us of, because of that sequence. Tim Dillon, we're going to move over back to him.
You know, the National Counterintelligence, the National Intelligence, the deputy director just resigned and said this. Now, you know, maybe, listen, Joe Kent's probably trying to be the VP or the president. He has political reasons to say what he's saying, but I don't know. Is he making all of this up? Is it completely fabricated? And if it is, bring charges against him. I mean, we're in the middle of a war. If he's completely making all of it up, no, it seems pretty obvious we got hosed a little bit. We were shown intelligence, and the validity of it is in question. And the idea that the Iranian regime was going to fall was, again, intelligence that we did not have. It was given to us, and we believed it, and we launched a war on those pretenses. And we also launched a war on the pretenses that Iran was trying to kill the president of the United States, and that Iran was also very close to having a nuclear bomb.
If Joe Kent is lying, then press charges on him against what he's lying about. But instead, what are they doing? They're bringing a case against him that he leaked classified information. So obviously what he's speaking about is true. If he's being a liar, then get him on that. Just making stuff up to make the government look bad and trying to use intel, but they can't do that because he's not lying. I looked in one of my live streams, the same one that I was telling you to watch earlier. I looked to see how much money he's taken from a foreign government. Zero. Joe Kent, zero. Marco Rubio, over $4 million. Lindsey Graham, $1 million. Tulsi Gabbard, 6 figures. They're all taking money, man. They're all taking money on behalf of Israel. So nobody is investigating. Who is investigating this is telling you exactly who has the power to make decisions and who does not. This is the issue. It's just like Trump is the one running it. Is it true what they were saying, that we have a dictatorship on our hands here? Because I hate to say it, but what are these decisions? They don't make sense at all. Kent seems like he's the receipt. Even Tim Dillon is talking about it. So if Kent is making it all up, then press charges on him. There's nothing to press charges on because he's telling the truth, and they hate that. They hate it when we tell the truth. They hate it.
Well, the problem is we have a drastically different strategic goal than the Israelis do. So we will say that Israel is our ally in this. They're basically our co-equal in this. People like me will say, actually, we're not really even co-equals. They're leading because we're having to react to them. But either way, we're basically joined at the hip with the Israelis. Now, the problem is they have a much different strategic goal and a much, I'd say, higher threshold and tolerance for chaos and bloodshed than we do. Now, we have stated that our strategic goal, you'll hear Secretary Hegseth rattle these off at his morning briefings that he gives to the media. It's to destroy the Iranian Navy, to destroy the IRGC, to destroy their ballistic missile capability, to destroy all their enrichment. So we kind of have a checklist of like things that we want to bomb, essentially, to take off the battlefield. That's about as far as we've gone with stating what our strategic goal is, which I think is a big problem that we have with the GWAT, is we never really said what our strategic goal was. Obviously, there was get bin Laden and make sure the homeland isn't attacked. But I just remember being in Iraq, being like, well, what's the goal here? Like, we're building a government. So same thing. We didn't really learn that lesson. We haven't stated our strategic goal. The Israelis, as critical as I am of our relationship with the Israelis have a very clear strategic goal. And that is to take out this regime lock, stock, and barrel. That's to get rid of the Ayatollahs, the clerical class that rules over, and then also the IRGC, which is a huge lift. It's a big country. Those institutions are massive. They've got a lot of support, but that's the Israelis' goal. Now, the Israelis don't really care necessarily if that happens and Iran then slips into chaos and the Straits of Hormuz remains inflamed and there's a migration crisis and there's an ongoing war. The Israelis don't care about that. They care that the IRGC and the Ayatollahs can no longer fund their proxies or cause them problems inside of Israel. So again, you've got us footing the bill, doing the majority of the combat, doing the dying, doing the fighting. We have a very, very murky strategic objective, whereas the Israelis are driving this. They're driving essentially our commitment of combat power. They're driving us having people lose their lives. They have a very clear strategic objective. And this is why I say the number one thing we have to do in order to get out of this is to restrain the Israelis and get our relationship with Israel straight. Otherwise, it's all going to be for naught, and we're going to continue to get sucked in further and further.
You hear it right there, man. A punch list of things to bomb. That is the American strategy in this war, according to someone who had the second highest level of positioning in counterterrorism in the United States government. It's not a mission objective, not a defined end state, not a plan for what comes after. How many different things have we been served to say, oh, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that, we're going to be helping people, we're going to be saving them from this regime, we're going to be taking care of a nuclear thing. I mean, it's changed one thing after another, after another. Who is getting listened to at this point? Look around. We've got people dead. Your answer is right there, okay? They do not care what happens. They just want to do the bidding of somebody else. And I'm going to be straight with you because I think you deserve that from me. I've never been to war. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I have something to teach as a combat veteran about what it costs. What I can't tell you is that I've seen violence. I've lived hungry on the streets from my own bad choices. Not anyone else's fault but mine. And I do not wish that on anyone. Not the stress of not eating, the fear of what comes next and who's coming next after you. And I know that the people calling this war righteous and necessary will never feel a single version of any of that, including Lindsey Graham and all these people. And we're going to see this right now. We're going to show Valhalla VFT. Showing all these clowns talking about they want to go to war and this and that. Yeah, go sign yourself up. Sign your kids up. The people without those things are going to the front lines. And there is a veteran right here that I'm going to show you who has said this better and even honestly funnier than I could.
However, what the rest of the internet hasn't figured out yet, but Nate put 2 and 2 together for on this, is that now all of these MAGA pro-war simps that have been out there calling veterans cowards and supporting the war in Iran, you're all of f***ing age to enlist now, you little cowards. Yes, the Tatums, the Shapiros, the Matt Walshes, the Benny Johnsons are all under age 42.
MAGA pro-war simps. Can't say it better, man. And he's a veteran. He's a veteran. Valhalla VFT. The Army just raised the enlistment age from 35 to 42. You got Brandon Tatum, Ben Shapiro. He just hit 42. Benny Johnson, 38. Tatum is 38 too. All within the window. All loudly pro-war. All very comfortable talking about pro-war and going to war. And this is what we need to do. So what's going to happen with them? What do you think they're going to do, huh?
So let's start with Officer Tatum, as he thinks he's the toughest guy on the internet, as he's been calling out literal war heroes and calling them cowards. Well, again, time to put your money where your fat fucking mouth is, Tatum. Because yes, Brandon Tatum is 38 years old. Oh, look at that. No longer over the age of enlistment, Brandon. In fact,
bro, the pressure is going to be tough on these cats, man. Everyone's going to be like, go, Joe, you go do this. You go to war. And you've been... I wonder what this is going to be like.
4 good years that you could still enlist. And since you like to say shit like this,
I'll say, Joe Kent, thank you for your service, but you are a coward for what you did.
All right, buddy, that aged like sour milk now that you're within the age of enlistment. So I would hope and expect, you've been so outwardly forward criticizing anybody who's against this war that you get off your fat, lazy ass, head down to the recruiting station and enlist. But let me put this out.
I'm not going to body shame him, but because I've been like 400 plus pounds, I've lost half that weight almost, but this is not the point. The point is that he called Joe Kent a coward on camera. Joe Kent, the man with all of these deployments and Bronze Stars or whatever, who just resigned from a senior government position rather than be complicit in a war that he believed was manufactured. Brandon Tatum called that man a coward from the safety of his little studio. Now the recruiting station is open, bro. The clock is ticking, Brandon. Valhalla gave Matt Walsh a pass. I agree with that call. We don't want him fighting for us anyways, man.
Otherwise, you shut your fucking mouth too. Next one, Matt Walsh, 39 years old. But guess what? Matt Walsh is actually going to get a pass on this because, surprisingly, Matt Walsh has been anti-war from the very beginning and has been critical of this decision. Shockingly, I'm not sure how Ben Shapiro is allowing him to do it. So Matt Walsh, we're going to actually say, good on you, buddy. We are not going to call you out to have to go and enlist and fight and die in a foreign country because you're not advocating for it. So actually, good on you on this one, buddy. Now, another...
Yeah, I mean, good on you, bro, where it's like you got to have somebody with reason inside your little company. Ben, you're over there just like, shill. Come on, man. You don't have a human bone being in your body? Really? This is who you are? This is crazy, man. And I mean, Walsh was anti-war from the beginning, thankfully. He said it when it was expensive to say it inside that ecosystem. Credit is credit, and I give it where it's due. But now watch what Valhalla says about the money side of this entire thing, because this is where the video connects directly to what we've been documenting on my channel.
Send Barron. Yes, I know he's busy trading oil futures off of his dad's insider trading info as he manipulates the stock market over this conflict, and he's now worth $150 million through corruption. But as it turns out, not a single person in the Trump family.
Oh, by the way, that $150 million was before all of this trading has been evaluated. Barron is worth a lot more than that from his own crypto trading off his dad's coins and his dad's influence and his dad's social media posts. That kid he's smart, but I don't think he's going to go to war. I'll tell you that much.
Going back 100 years, has ever served in the military. And so, yes, now it is officially time.
He's saying Donald Trump's entire family, I think 4 generations, has never served.
To send Barron to the front lines as well. And Barron Trump's young, perfect age, only 20 years old. I mean, you could have a full 20-year career and be done by 40. Actually, finally bring some type of honor to your piece of shit family. And again, that way your own family can put their money where their mouth is on this.
I think that's a very interesting way to say things. But look, Barron, if you want to go out there and fight that battle, man, you'll at least do some good in the American eye. Do you have the balls to do it? I mean, dude said it in 2 sentences. A fitness veteran on YouTube connected the oil futures to insider trading like I have, bro. We all see it. Called out the Trump's family military service record as it's called them out all in the same breath. We said it on this channel with receipts multiple times. And he's correct. And Kent actually delivers another line I need you to hear before we move to the next section.
So again, I go back to, why are we doing what we're doing right now? Look at the ramifications. Look at how little we're gaining from this. And again, all roads go back to Israel is the benefactor.
All roads go back to Israel as the benefactor. That is the very man who ran American counterterrorism, and not some conspiracy channel. They're trying to, Ben Shapiro said, that's a bunch of conspiracy baloney or whatever he's saying that Joe Kent is spewing, that it's all for Israel. No, he's speaking the truth, man. So they hate it. You know what Hasbara is, right? Go look up Hasbara. I'll spell it out on the screen so you can go look it up. Crazy, man. All roads go back there. Money is in politics is a voice. That sentence is all you need to know. The people with money picked this war. The people without it are fighting it. And somewhere in Washington, Lindsey Graham is booking his next flight to Tel Aviv, I'm sure. Go kiss that wall, baby. All right, so I saved the most quietly dystopian thing for last, because while 13 plus Americans are dying in a war started by manufactured intelligence, while anonymous wallets were placing billion, million, 100,000, whatever dollar bets, traders were making billions of dollars on the stock market, while Lindsey Graham is doing a victory lap on Sunday shows, the First Lady of the United States was out at the White House introducing a humanoid robot that wants to come to your house and teach your children. And I was watching this clip, and when I saw him pulling this thread, the way a comedian like him does, I just had to show it.
It's just fun. Let's get First Lady, friend of the show, Melania Trump up, and she's with Sarah
Friend of the show.
Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu's wife, who I don't know, I've never met, but seems lovely. The whole family seems lovely. And the Netanyahus seem like a lovely family. Am I wrong? They just seem good at the core. It's my guess. Sometimes I'm wrong, but I have these reads. So now Melania Trump and Sarah Netanyahu and Brigitte Macron, Big Daddy Brigitte, are
Big Daddy.
They're introducing humanoid robots. So here, take a look at this. Take a look at this, everybody. Here we are. By the way, stop this for a minute. Like, imagine sitting in your house, watching this, and then getting that email and going, well, at least. All right, keep going. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Here's what I like about Melania. Stop this for a minute. Here's what I like about Melania. You know, we recapped her movie on the Patreon, which is, again, it's completely insane, the film. Most of it is just her heel getting out of a G5 jet. You just see the heel hit the tarmac. But what I like about Melania is Melania doesn't want to do a lot as a first lady, but what she does, she's into. Like, she's into this. Now, what she's doing here, and I'm for this, is she's getting involved in replacing human teachers with these robots and for the third world. This is what she's been up to. Everyone goes, what's she been up to? Well, she's part of this program now where they're going to replace teachers, human teachers who like...
Dude, this is so crazy. They're talking about replacing teachers in the third world countries with robots. And they're doing this at a formal White House coalition event called Fostering the Future Together, with the First Lady, Melania Trump, presenting this.
Imagine a humanoid educator named Plato.
Yes.
Access to the classical studies is now instantaneous. Literature, science, art, philosophy, mathematics, and history. Humanity's entire corpus.
By the way, stop it for a minute. It's maybe the most globalist administration in human history. The idea that you're going to send humanoid robots all over the world is the most hilarious thing. I mean, if you elected these people to do anything for America, like anything, like one thing, the idea that there's money being spent to build these robots that they're not even going to help you. We're going to ship them to the third world. I'm not even saying you should want robots per se, but this is one of the most hilarious things I've ever said. Let's keep listening.
Is available in the comfort of your home. Plato will provide a personalized experience,
she's got a nice voice. I kind of like her voice.
To the needs of each student. Plato is always patient and always available. Predictably, our children will develop deep critical thinking and independent reasoning abilities. The AI-powered Plato will boost analytic skills and problem solving and adapt in real time to a student's pace, prior knowledge, and even emotional state. The byproduct, a more well-rounded lifestyle for our children, freeing up time.
Dude, figure 3, let me just tell you what it is. Figure 3, Plato, they're calling it, is the product, all right? Figure is a robotics company. It was founded in 2022. They build general purpose humanoid robots designed to operate in human environments. The robot you just heard about from her is running on a visual language model, and that means it has cameras in its hands, okay? Cameras in its head, microphones. It runs a large language model like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, that processes in real time what it sees and hears. Everything that model processes routes back to their servers. Figure is backed by OpenAI, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Jeff Bezos, Intel, and Samsung, amongst others. This is not a startup operating out of a garage somewhere. This is a surveillance architecture designed to look like an education product, and they're rolling it out in third world countries first, like they usually do with this stuff. And then they're going to bring it over here. You'll see how this rolls out.
Now, here's the way I'm taking it. Doesn't matter if you want Plato to come. Like, Plato's coming. That's the way I'm. Now, I don't think Plato, here's the other thing. I don't think Plato's just there to teach the kids. If I had to guess, Plato's got a lot of skills, and Plato's going to really help you and help your family, kind of whether you like it or not. Plato is showing up. So Plato is, imagine a humanoid robot named Plato who comes to your house every day and tells your kids what's the reality. Imagine the humanoid robot with all of the knowledge, philosophies, and all of the knowledge, and music, and art, and history, and Plato comes to your home every day and teaches your children in the living room. And Plato is there with your children. And if you, and Plato will adapt to your children and their behavior. And Plato will sit them down and he'll tell them when they are being anti-Semitic. And Plato has no tolerance. Imagine a humanoid robot, Plato, who has no tolerance for bad behavior or any type of anti-Semitism. Don't criticize what the government does.
I know. Look, I know I laugh, but this is not a laughing matter, man. You've got a humanoid robot with cameras in both of its hands and in its head, with microphones all over, running a large language AI model available in the comfort of your own home and adapts in real time to a student's prior knowledge. I have a feeling we're all going to become students, to a student's prior knowledge and emotional state as a database. They're using us as data sets, processes the behavioral responses, and adjusts its output based on what it detects. All of that processing runs on external servers owned by a private company backed by the largest technology and defense contractors on this planet. When a system watches your child, listens to your child, reads you, listens to you, reads your child's emotional state in real time, and sends all that data back to external servers, you have not built an education product. You have built the most comprehensive in-home surveillance apparatus and behavioral profiling system ever created. You just give it a friendly name from some ancient Greek philosophy or whatever, Plato, or you name it like Plato, actually like a toy for kids, and put the first lady in front of it at the White House. I'm glad Tim Dillon clocked this in real time.
Melania Trump, everyone, saying that a humanoid robot named Plato will soon be at your house teaching your children. So if you voted for that, you're very excited if that's what you wanted. Again, if that was something that you wanted, a robot at your house teaching your children, then that's pretty cool, I guess.
If that's what you wanted, the men in this administration decided for you anyways. Doesn't matter what you wanted, through manufactured intelligence on its own, outcomes through prediction and prediction markets and running infrastructure they own. Dismantled the regulatory apparatus. They would investigate it before any of it happened. The women in this administration are building social media profiles and just glitzing and glamoring around. Look at Tulsi Gabbard and how many millions of followers and impressions she's getting paid off of. She's got 2 Twitter accounts making $50,000, I'm sure, a month. YouTube channel making $20,000 to $50,000 a month, and Instagram getting printed views like crazy. Look, this is what's happening in our government. I've been hungry on the streets. I've made bad decisions. I've lived a harsh life in the past. I'm glad I turned it around, but I don't want to see other people have to endure hunger, violence, fear of not knowing what the next day is going to look like. I've seen it. That is a dark place to be. And the people who have designed this war have never felt any of that. You need to know that. They don't know what that life is like. I do. A lot of people in this country do. You might. I don't want anybody to have to experience that. Not once, not at all, not for an afternoon, not for 1 minute. Money is a voice in politics. That is their architecture. The people with the money decide what wars happen and which robots teach your kids. Joe can't resign rather than to be complicit. You should probably thank him for that. He can't do anything from the inside, obviously, or he would have done it. He put his, instead of being like Bongina or like Cash Patel, just like simping for the system, he put his name on it and he walked out. You do not have a degree with every position he has ever taken to recognize that a man with 11 combat deployments and all these stars has chosen to resign publicly rather than stay in a room where he could not stop something he believed was wrong, in a different category of action than anything Lindsey Graham has done in 30 years in Washington, like shill for war. think about, it's not just about APAC money for this dude. This guy's getting paid. His pockets are lined from every direction when it comes to the wars. That's why I think we should make lobbying illegal. Follow the money. That's what always connects everything. That's the standard for me. Hold yourselves to it too. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Let's continue to hear the robot out because I've never been for not letting people speak. Let's go.
Yokoso. Bienvenue. Bem-vindos. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Yes.
Shagatam. Mogisalmabit.
Woo!
Bruchim abaim. Laskavo próximo.
So now what the robot is doing, by the way, in every different language,
Is saying the word kill, kill.